Over the past 365 days, if all you did was bet Kevin Dolan's boxing selections, you would be up plus 40% in profit. If you purchased Kevin's weekly boxing card, it would cost you $1,300 over the course of a calendar year. But for a limited time, we've slashed all that down to $199, saving you over $1,100.
Hey guys, Carmine Bianco, WagerTalk.com with our Thursday edition of Stoppage Time. This is the knockout stage edition. 36 games in the group stages now over and 16 teams left. We have a super tough bracket coming up in the knockout stages. It all starts in earnest on Saturday from Amsterdam as Denmark and Wales hit the field at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. We're going to talk about 3 games on this show. We're going to talk about that Denmark-Wales game. We're also going to talk about Belgium and Portugal, which is going to be probably the best game of the knockout stages, at least the first round. And then we'll talk about England and Germany as well. With me to discuss it from Sportsmemo, Pavlos, Laguretos, and from WagerTalk.com, it's Nick Borrman and Kevin Dolan. Let's bring them in. Kev, I'm going to start with you, my friend. How are you doing?
Oh, good, Carmine. Yeah, cashed another big 5% winner on Sweden plus a quarter goal yesterday. So that takes us now to 18-3, I believe, on all 5% play since April. Plus 70% profit. And we have another 5% play loaded up for tomorrow night in NBA. So pretty excited about that. And, you know, as you said to start off the show, excited obviously about these round of 16 games, I should say, in the Euros. You know, there is some electric games and we're going to break them down on today's show. So let's get into it.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Nick Borrman, very good Euro group stages for you. Those 5% were really clicking, my friend. How are you doing?
Doing great, thanks. Yeah, went through the group stage without losing one. 5 wins and 1 push, and 12-2 overall on best bets, which includes 4% play as well. So yeah, it's been a great group stage. Hopefully carry that over to the knockout rounds. And looking forward to, for the viewers, when you're betting these ones, just remember these games are a little different. We'll talk about it as we get into it today, but they can end differently, and your bets could be graded differently. So keep that in mind, and we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we definitely will. And of course, my man, he's cleansing somewhere out there in Europe. The exact score savant, the yellow card, prop master, Pavlos Laguretos. How are you doing, my friend?
It's a mixed bag of emotions for me today because I had the under in the Spain match yesterday, and that didn't work out quite well because the goalkeeper is worse than me. If I played that game, I would have maybe considered fewer goals. But anyway, I was on the 2-2 correct score, guys. I hope everyone that saw Tuesday's show maybe threw some beer money on the 2-2 correct scores. We had 2 of them last night, so that that softened the blow. So let's. I'm very excited for the round of 16. I already have a 10-unit play up for Saturday up at my page at Sportsmemo. So yeah, I'm really excited for the knockout round.
All right, awesome. Yeah, head over to sportsmemo.com, click on Pavlos's page there, capper page, and you can find all of his plays and the tournament package as well too. I'll have a promo code for you guys after the first game that we cover, and that is going to be the Belgium and Portugal game. Belgium plus 130 in this game. The draw is plus 240. Portugal plus 200. The total is 2.5 in this game. The one thing I'm going to say before I throw it back to Pavlos on this one for his thoughts on this game first is, and as Nick mentioned, we can't really take what you shouldn't really take what happened in the group stages and try to apply it to the knockout stages. It's a completely different part of this tournament. Some teams who look super impressive, you don't want to give that too much stock is what I'm trying to say is let's look at 2016, the 2016 Euros, Portugal, 3 games in the group stages, Austria, Wales, and Hungary, 3 draws. They came out of that tournament, and then they went on to beat teams like Croatia, Poland, I'm not sure who the third one was, but they beat France in the finals. not many teams gave them a chance to win one game, let alone lift the trophy, and they did. So you have to look at it at teams that are building throughout this tournament when you hit these knockout stages. Pavlos, give me your thoughts on this one first, please.
Yeah, you mentioned the 2016 Euro. That was that actually had quite a few upsets in the knockout rounds. I mean, Wales, they beat Belgium by 3-1, and Iceland, even though they lost to France, they scored 2 goals. And Portugal, they only won one match inside 90 minutes in that tournament, and that was in the semifinals against Wales. Every other match in that tournament was a draw, which goes to show that maybe sometimes picking a side in those knockout rounds is not the way to go, because the teams know that they have this cushion where if the match ends as a draw, you have the extra time and maybe the penalty shootout to to win. And there are some teams that are very good at that, at the penalty shootouts, and certainly some teams that are really bad. And one of them is Italy, I think, who often, when they go to the penalty shootouts, I think they have a bad record in big tournaments. While, for example, the Netherlands, in one tournament, they started, for example, Stekelenburg, and they swap the goalkeeper after the 90 minutes, when the match was obvious that it was going to go to the penalty shootout. They swapped the goalkeeper. So that's one prop that we will look for in the knockout stages, where some teams, they have a backup goalkeeper that is really good at saving penalty kicks. So the odds on those props are like plus 2,000 or something. So we'll look into those matches. We'll break it down in later editions of the stoppage times. But as far as this match goes, Belgium, they were great. They were solid in the group stage. The 2-0 win against Finland was a pretty expected result. Well, Portugal, I don't know what happened to their defense. Of course, they were in the group of death. They conceded multiple goals against Germany and France, which was not unexpected. But they now get Belgium, and Belgium, they have De Bruyne, they have Lukaku, they have all these, world-class players up front, and I think their defense is going to be, threatened a lot. But they also have a very good offense. Portugal have a very good offense with Cristiano Ronaldo and Jota and Bruno Fernandes. They are terrorizing the opposing defenses, and Belgium's defense hasn't looked good. Of course, they kept 2 clean sheets against Russia and Finland, but you can't take those matches into consideration because they're much worse than Portugal. So I'm looking at the over 2.25 goals here, because both defenses, they've looked quite vulnerable in this tournament, and even though Portugal, I mentioned coach Fernando Santos a lot. He is a guy that loves defensive soccer, but what he loves and what his players actually can produce is these are two different things. And I think we'll see goals here. Maybe goals from both sides. Both teams to score goes at around minus 120, which is also good. But I think the over 2.25 goals is it's a fairly safe bet here.
Yeah, and I can see the over. I can see the over there. I actually kind of lean to that both teams to score. I can see both teams scoring in this game. And thankfully, when you were reviewing the 2016, you mentioned Wales. That was the third team I could not remember. I did remember them obviously beating, Poland, Croatia. I just can remember that Wales game before they beat France in the finals. But Nick, I'm going to go to you next on this one. One of the things, and we have to mention this for some of the guys watching this or some of the people watching this who might be novice bettors to soccer and this competition, is obviously it's being shown on ESPN in the US and in Canada on CTV and TSN. The betting with this, because there has to be a winner in each of these games, unlike the group stages. So you have to remember your sports books are always grading these wagers based on 90 minutes and injury time. So the games that are decided in extra time and penalty kicks, you take a team like Belgium at plus 130 and they win it in extra time or penalty kicks, you're losing that wager because it was a draw after 90 minutes, which gives us, where I'm going to here, the option of every sports book has a to qualify wager. The to qualify wager is which team will win and move on to the next round, regardless of whether it happens in 90 minutes, extra time, or penalty kicks. This game, it's a minus 134 for Belgium, plus 100 or even money on Portugal. Does that factor into your wagering, Nick?
Yeah, of course it has to. If you like a team to move on and win, looking at that to advance number is something you're going to have to pay attention to. Of course, it's usually going to cost you a lot more, especially on a team that's favored to win. It's going to cost you a lot more. So it's something to consider. I usually try not to play that way unless it's a pick 'em type of a game, and then you can get the price at a reasonable number. Or sometimes taking two of the favorites and kind of parlaying them together to get a decent return is another option. But you absolutely have to know about it when you're betting and understand it. As far as this game here, how unlucky is it for Belgium to get Portugal when you look at Denmark, who finishes second, and they draw Wales? That just sucks for Belgium to have to go against Portugal here. So the side, I've struggled with a little bit. I'm tempted to take Portugal plus quarter of a goal just because of the experience here. Belgium has not won a European tournament of any kind. Portugal, meanwhile, that's all they seem to do is just win these type of competitions. Obviously, you guys mentioned Euro holders. They're the Nations League holders as well right now. They got all the experience in the world. But I think both of you, Carm and Pavlos, took the words out of my mouth as far as how I would play this game. And that's, both teams probably scoring and the over most likely coming through. I mean, we know the offensive prowess of both teams. I don't even have to list the guys on either side of the ball, but they can score. They can score a lot of goals. Portugal's been doing it through a lot of penalty kicks this thing, but that's, they get themselves in good positions and they threaten. It's just penalty kicks can sometimes be lucky, but they usually don't come for teams that, don't threaten. So it's not that they don't deserve to have chances on goal like that. And Belgium, I go back to that first game where Lukaku had 2 touches in that game, 2 touches in the entire game and scored 2 goals. So they don't need a lot of opportunities. They just have very good finishers. And you get a guy like De Bruyne in the middle who can set up anybody with one touch. It really, can have a game. Like I said, any chance usually is score when you get on teams like this. So I don't think this is going to be an open game by any means where there's going to be, goals flowing from both sides. But at the same time, I don't see either one of them keeping a clean sheet. So the both teams to score is the first way I would look at it. And then just asking for one more goal to get the over I think it's fairly safe to do. I just checked out the price. If you take both teams to score and over 2.5 goals, which is obviously higher than the 2.25 goal right now, it's plus 150. So it's a pretty good price there for something I think is very, very likely to happen. And for those betting this, just know that any type of bet you're making is 90 minutes. So if it does go to extra time, any goals scored there do not count for either the total or the side, and especially on this prop of over 2.5 plus both teams to score. But listen, I think Belgium, they don't have a defense that's going to keep Portugal off the board, and Portugal, they've shown that they can't keep anybody off the board. They were letting everybody score, although they were the only ones that held Hungary in that group stage. But long story short, both teams scoring over 2.5, I think, is a great value on this game.
All right, some good info from Nick. Kev, we're going to give you the closing remarks on this game as far as Belgium goes, and like I said, not to put too much stock in what happens in group stages and trying to apply it to the knockout stages. Because if you did, you look at Belgium winning 3-0 over Russia, 2-1 over Denmark, and 2-0 over Finland, and seemingly Portugal struggling with getting a late win, albeit 3-0 win against Hungary. All 3 goals were scored in the last 7-8 minutes, losing to Germany 4-2, and then a draw on the final match day with France. And you'd think, well, this team has struggled. I don't think that's really the case here. Your thoughts?
No, exactly, Carmine. You've just took the words out of my mouth because, Belgium have passed the optic test. I mean, we've seen them top their group. Even in the game, they didn't look so hot in against Denmark. Once they made those changes in the second half, they were just so clinical up front. And, as you said, by the same token, we've seen Portugal struggle in this competition so far. They took, 85 minutes before they managed to break down Hungary off a deflected shot. Then they got a penalty. They needed 2 penalties to draw against France last night as well. They got smashed by Germany. So, optically you would favour Belgium, but I like Portugal here, getting a quarter goal head start. In fact, I would take them against anyone in this competition, getting a plus 0.25. Belgium are no superior, despite how good they are, they're no superior to the teams Portugal have already faced so far in this competition, France, Germany, so on. Well, for Belgium, this is a huge step up to what they've faced so far in this tournament. No disrespect to Denmark. I like them. I have a future on them to win this, but I don't think you can compare them to the likes of Portugal, in terms of overall pedigree and the chance to go on and win this competition. So it is Portugal for me here, catching the quarter goal head start in Sevilla. And, as much as I like Belgium, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see them go on and, edge this game out, when you're talking about two teams of this obvious quality, I'm always going to kind of gravitate towards the team catching the head start here. So, yeah, I think the value is Portugal plus a quarter goal for me on Sunday.
All right. Love it. More good info. That's Kevin Dolan of WagerTalk.com. You can find him, like I said, at WagerTalk.com. You can get his tournament package or Nick Borrman's, myself, or Pavlos Laguretos for the complete knockout stages right through to the finals. Every single play, every single side, total, prop bet released, exact score, including some bonus plays from Copa America. You can get $60 off that tournament package when using coupon code KO60. You'll get $60 off the regular price of $199. So you'll get it for $139. A ton of plays left in this tournament, 15 plays or 15 games left in this tournament. So there's a ton of plays still left. Take advantage of that coupon code. It will expire on the weekend. So take advantage of it now and get the complete tournament from one of your 4 favorite cappers. All right, guys, let's head into the big game at Wembley. This game goes, I believe, on Tuesday. England and Germany. England plus 155. The draw is plus 210. Germany plus 187. And the total is a very low 2 in this game. Nick, I'm going to go to you first on this one. I can see that, I would have thought that the total would probably be something like 2.25 goals. 2 seems a little odd, but this is one of those games of all the games in the group stages. If I thought one was going to go to extra time, this might be the one. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I am seeing 2.25 goals right now, Carm, but you're right. This one's very, very tough. And again, another situation of tough draw for both teams here. What makes me nervous for England is really in the group stage. I mean, their inability to score in those 3 matches just has been pretty alarming. And they've just lacked creativity up front. And Harry Kane's really, I don't even know if he's been playing in these games for them. And they absolutely can't have that. They need him to be a huge part of this if they're going to make it, anywhere in this tournament, let alone get past Germany. On the flip side, their defense has been fantastic and is really the reason they are winning the games. And that being said, Germany is a completely different animal than Croatia, Scotland, or the Czech Republic. And they're going to definitely have their chances. You're going to be able to give England's backline a lot more fits than any of those 3 teams were able to. So similar to the first game, I'm looking at both teams to score here. I'm less bullish on the over. I think a 1-1, 90-minute draw and going into extra time is likely here. So I'm not as excited about the over, but it's hard for me to see either team being blanked. So both teams to score is minus 115 I'm seeing right now, which is pretty good value. I think it's a good way to play this one. Germany, unable to keep a clean sheet in any of their 3 matches. They were arguably the best defensively in their first match against France, but they were nowhere near as good as against Portugal, who were able to generate a ton of chances. And even Hungary gave them trouble scoring those 2 goals. And like I said, I don't necessarily see this as an open game with goals flowing, but I just think both teams are going to have just enough to get on the scoreboard here. I'm more worried about England, honestly, just from what I've seen in the group stage, but hopefully they can, Southgate can make some adjustments because he's kind of struggled, I think, to set these guys up. So hopefully he can make some adjustments, but I think that's the way I would play it. The side I'm just really struggling with.
Yeah, and I think based on the fact that you're struggling to find like let's say the side in this one, getting back to what I talked about, the to advance or to qualify, however it's stipulated at your book for this game, is if you can't, or you don't think you can find the winner in 90 minutes, that's the way to go. England is minus 125. Germany is minus 106, I believe, as far as those prices go. And that includes anything that happens in extra time or in penalty kicks if it gets there. Kev, I'm going to go to you next on this one. You know, my thoughts on England is this. I know a lot of the Three Lion fans are disappointed with the way this team is playing, but the tournament is not won in the group stages. They won their group. They did what they set out to do, which was win their group. Sure, they didn't win flashy 3-0 or 4-0 games, but they did what they had to do. They seemingly look better with Grealish in the lineup to start in the first 45 minutes against the Czech Republic, but then they sort of switched off in that second half, and I didn't see anything from them that impressed me. You want to see a team sort of build through this tournament, but it's a new tournament now with the knockout stages, and this is a tough one.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? I was actually watching the BBC coverage instead of the Irish RTE last night between France and Portugal, and you know, I was cracking up because as the teams were kind of interchanging throughout the night, you know, Portugal were first at one point, then they fell to second, third, fourth. You know, it was interchanging all night. You know, the commentary by the English was hilarious. Oh no, looks like England are going to get Portugal. We never do well against the Portuguese. Oh no, it's France. We never do well against the French. You know, and then of course it finally ended up on Germany. You know, and fair play to Gary Lineker, who was hosting the show. You know, he jokingly said, you know, England don't do well against basically any of those teams. So it really was a no-win for the English, no matter who they got in that group. Saying all that, though, I think it is possibly the best draw England could have got. I said on last week's show, you know, in my opinion, I thought this German team are mentally weak. You know, they did somewhat prove me wrong, I have to say, with that 4-2 win over Portugal in match day 2. But even so, I said on Tuesday's show, in my opinion, if Renato Sanchez, you know, if he gets that goal late in that game to make it 4-3, Germany were on very shaky ground over those last 20 minutes. So, you know, we saw them struggle against Hungary. I had Hungary, you know, +2.25 last night. Fairly easy winner there. And, you know, and that was when Germany had an opportunity, golden opportunity, to top that group at home in Munich, of all places, against Hungary. And they just couldn't get it done. So I just don't rate Germany at all. I think England have actually got out of jail because of this draw. As, to be honest now, I really wouldn't have favoured England to beat either Portugal or France, even at Wembley. And they have a real chance of progression here against the Germans, in my opinion. I think, you know, obviously we talked about this in the last game. The one advantage Germany clearly have here is experience, not just historically, but also over this tournament. You know, they face France, they face Portugal. You know, and while Croatia are decent, they're nowhere near the team they were 3 years ago. So while this will be nothing new to Germany, you know, even perhaps a downgrade from facing the likes of France, you know, for England here, Germany are a huge step up to what they've faced so far in this competition. And look, they'll have to prepare accordingly. You know, we talked on Tuesday about how Southgate's needs, you know, to let the shackles off this team offensively. In my opinion, he's far too conservative in pushing the action. And that was the case again on Tuesday against the Czechs. You know, England were like a damp squib in that second half. They amassed a grand total of 0.00 XG over that final 45 minutes. You know, that's 45 minutes of my life that I'll never get back again. You know, and that needs to change here. You know, I know Southgate's personality is one dictated by being cool under pressure. You know, he calmly looks to take opponents apart tactically, but that was a mistake against Scotland. England almost lost that game because of it. And we talked on Tuesday about how fired up the Scottish players were ahead of that game. Massive derby game internationally. And someone needs to tell Southgate that there's absolutely nothing wrong with being passionate ahead of these types of games. You know, and if Usery can actually provide a huge morale boost off, you know, Stephen Kenny, not to get off topic quickly, but our manager in Ireland got in trouble at the back end of last year. I think it was November 2020. He showed the Irish players clips of previous wars they fought against England to G up the players ahead of that match. You know, he got lambasted in the press. Obviously, the English press were all over them. They called it a disgrace. But look, I personally don't think there's anything wrong with that sort of motivation, you know, providing it works. Terry Venables, the English manager in 1996, I think he would have been that sort of manager for England as well. You know, when they last faced Germany in the knockout stage of this competition, you know, fired up, passionate. I'm obviously not privy to what was going on in the dressing room back then, but, you know, I can well imagine, you know, clips of Churchill, fight them on the beaches, all that sort of stuff. And England they need something. They need like some kind of fire to get them ready for these type of games. It's not too often that they meet their international nemesis, which Germany are. in knockout tournament action. They need to harness all that animosity for them here. Germany are even going to play in black in Wembley to make it easier for them. It's going to be like some kind of chess game out there because, like, look, if England come out like a pack of librarians again, like they did over their 3 group games, I think they're going out here. So there is a slight lean to England if they can get some fire here on the match line. But a prop bet I like a lot more. You guys mentioned it going extra time. Germany to win on penalties. That's 10-1. That's been the case of 2 of the last 3 times these 2 teams have met in the knockout stages of a major tournament. So, yeah, slight lean to England on the match line, but at the current odds, I much prefer that Germany to win to nil prop. Germany to win on penalties prop 10-1 here.
All right, I like it. And yeah, the when I saw those XG numbers, and I was talking to an English friend of mine, he's like, "Can you believe the XG numbers were 0.00?" I'm like, it kind of happens when you actually register no shots on goal in the second half, and they didn't have any, no attempts or shots on goal. Hard to believe from a side up who were up 1-0 at the time, and who we expect more from. Pavlos, listen, I'm going to give you the final word on this one. These are 2 big football nations, and yet we haven't seen them play a competitive match, some friendlies, but the last competitive match these 2 teams played was back in 2010, the World Cup, where Germany beat them 4-1 on their way to, before bowing out in the semifinals to the eventual champions Spain. They lost 1-0 in that game, but that England team back then was led by Rooney and Defoe up front. You had Lampard and Gerrard trolling that midfield. A little different this time around with this team, but we should see Mason Mount return off of the having been self-isolating because of the whole COVID thing after that Scotland game. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I think I don't really like England in this tournament at all. I mean, I they might be like a type of Spain. What Spain did. Spain actually they didn't look good in the first 2 matches, but you could see that they create a lot of chances, and they were up for a blowout win, and they did that yesterday. But England were in a similar position, but they didn't blow out. They didn't blow up against the Czech Republic, as you said. They had no scoring chances in the second half, and that is weird to me. I mean, I don't know what kind of a what kind of a person or a coach Southgate is, but I don't think that. I mean, if they don't wake up even in this match at home with fans, I mean, I seriously think that England will drop out in the round of 16. I actually have a small stake bet on England to be eliminated at this round, and I like Germany here. Germany, they have a lot of options. Actually, both teams they have a lot of options up front, and they have really good squads. But they're fairly young. I think both teams will be like really 2 of the best teams in the upcoming World Cup next year, or maybe in the next Euros. But as it is now, I think Germany have the better squad, at least in my perspective. Yes, they do have a lot of defensive issues, and we've seen that in the group stage. And England are the exact opposite. They have no defensive issues. I mean, it's not like any of the other teams bullied them on the defense or they created a lot of chances. England were really careful at the back, and when I say careful, I mean it in a double way. Not only did they not concede a single goal in the group stage, but they got only 1 card in 3 matches. Of course, they played against Croatia, Scotland, and Czech Republic, which are all inferior teams. But it's a very interesting stat that England got just 1 card. And when you look at Germany, they did get a couple of cards in the match against Germany and in the match against Portugal, and just 1 in the match against France. And where I'm going with this, the line on the cards is still not out yet for this match, but I'm looking at the possibly under 3.5 cards. But as far as the correct score, I like the 1-1. The 1-1, which takes the match to extra time, goes at plus 550, around plus 550. But I like Germany to qualify here at around plus 100. I mean, okay, everyone wants England to advance. They play at home. They have a lot of fans. But judging by what I've seen and my intuition, I think that Germany will get the job done here. whether it's in the regular time, stoppage time, extra time, or penalty kick, penalty shootouts. I think I'll take Germany to qualify here.
All right, there you have it. We might be on a different page on this game. I haven't quite decided yet, Pavlos. Obviously the top half of this bracket, of this knockout stage bracket, came up super tough with Belgium, Portugal, France, Spain, Italy. 5 of those 8 teams. The bottom half is probably a little easier. Still a lot of good teams there, but a little easier. But it wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to tell you right now, it wouldn't surprise me if when the semifinals roll around on July 7th at Wembley Stadium, if we see, I'm going to throw this out there, if we see England and one of the teams that we are about to discuss now, Denmark, meeting in that semifinal, 2 teams that could be building to what could be a run in the group stages, but we will see, the knockout stages, but we'll see in a few short days. With that said, guys, let's head to the third game, Wales and Denmark. This game is the first game that kicks off the knockout stages. This goes Saturday in Amsterdam. It should be I would think it's going to be a pro Denmark crowd there. Wales are plus 400. The draw is plus 230. Denmark minus 125. The total is at 2. Kev, I'm going to go to you first on this one, but you and I both have futures on this Denmark team. I put out a video during the group stages after Denmark had lost their second game to Belgium, and it was what I called a speculative futures bet. I literally said you can now get Denmark at about anywhere from 50 to 1 to 85 to 1 at different books across whether it's Europe or North America. And I thought it's a very good speculative future to take because I expected Denmark to win their last game against Russia, which would bump them to number 2 in that group and set up a knockout stage game against Wales in a game that they're going to be favored. And you now have a team that is anywhere from 50 to 85 to 1 as a live team in the knockout stages. And now they're in the bottom half of the bracket where they could make a run. If they get by Wales here, they'll face the winner of the Netherlands match. So it's up for grabs, is all I'm saying at this point here. Kev, give me your thoughts on this game and maybe the futures bet if you want.
No, that was a great bet. I bet Denmark prior to the tournament 28 to 1, but some people were already reporting that line that you mentioned after they lost the opening 2 games was up as high as 70 to 1 at some parts. So I mean, that was a fantastic time to jump on that Denmark team, and I think both of these teams will feel a bit fortunate they've got this far in the competition because of that. Wales definitely had to ride their luck a little against Switzerland in the opening game, and we saw Denmark open the campaign, losing to Finland in the opening game. So I think both teams will obviously feel proud of getting to this point from where they started. But because of that, I do expect this to be a fairly cagey kind of defensive game throughout. Denmark have won every XG battle to date right across the group stage games, couldn't finish. And maybe because of it, and also absolutely blowing the doors off Russia in the last game. But that lack of finishing quality for them in front of goal, it is a major concern for me ahead of this one. I think the Danes are going to, find it hard to break down this Welsh back line, incredibly well drilled. And I could honestly see a stalemate in this one, pushing it to extra time. The Welsh allowed just 2 goals over the 3 matches in the group stage of this competition so far against some excellent defensive teams. Italy are one of the best. So, they allowed just 1 goal to both Northern Ireland and Belgium combined in the knockout stages of Euro 2016 as well. So I think Rob Page has this Welsh team set up very defensively. That's what they've found success in the past with. And in Gareth Bale and Daniel James, they have 2 players who can expose teams on the counter. Denmark won, for what it's worth, I should say, Denmark won both of the recent Nations League meetings between these pair back in 2018. Both home and away by an aggregate scoreline of 4-1. But I'm not putting a whole lot of emphasis on that. I think Wales can hang tight here. So the under 2.25 is going off at around minus 140. I don't see a ton of goals in this game, as I said, because that actually Wales to qualify plus 200 and Wales to win on penalties at plus 1,000 could offer value here. Also, we saw Christian Eriksen go out earlier in this competition. He's Denmark's nominated penalty taker. And if Højbjerg's penalty was anything to go by. Wales might well relish a penalty shootout against the Danes. So, yeah, lean to the under here is my main play for Saturday.
Yeah, and you made a great point. It's the finishing, and that's probably the one thing that worries me about this Denmark team. And Pavlos, I'm going to go to you next on this one. You look at the first game against Finland. They allowed, obviously that was the unfortunate event with Christian Eriksen. They probably should not have continued that game and played it the next day to allow everyone to sort of absorb what had happened. And to a man, they said after the game that and the days that followed that they should never have played that game. But going back to the numbers, 23 attempts on goal for Denmark, 6 actual shots on goal, nothing scored. The game against Belgium, the exact same thing, 22 attempts on net, 6 shots on goal. In that first half, they scored a goal and then went on to lose that game 2-1. They didn't take advantages of some very good opportunities to bury Belgium and didn't. In the Russia game, they did 16 attempts on goal, 10 actual shots on goal, 4 goals scored. So they at least picked it up at the end. Pavlos, give me your thoughts on this game. And with all that data, does this stay under 2?
I think not. Actually, there is a lot of ways to look at this. I was actually going to say that Denmark are the leading team in chances created in this tournament. Of course, not all of them are on goal, but it goes to show that they play very offensively. They have even without Eriksen, they have good connection between the lines. I mean, the defense with the midfield and the midfield with the offense. We see a great transition play from Denmark. Of course, they did that against Russia's terrible defense, and they did that in. I'm not going to talk about starting the opening match with Finland because it was weird. But yeah, they missed a chance to destroy Belgium because they were really good in that first half, and they showed that even without Eriksen, they still have the players to create play. They don't do that mostly through the central axis, but they go now from the flanks. And we saw Mele, the left back, creating an awful lot of chances. So I think we'll see a fast-paced game here, even though Wales will try to play massive defense. And if you look at their recent results, most of their matches are like 1-0, 0-0, 1-1, 2-0. So one could make a good argument about taking the under 2 goals here, but actually Kevin made a great suggestion about we saw what Denmark did with a penalty kick, and if that's their best penalty kick taker, I can't imagine who the other guys are. So in the case that this goes to a penalty shootout, yes, Wales should have the upper hand, but Denmark's Kasper Schmeichel is a good keeper, and he might make things tough. So I think Denmark, they know that they have to get the job done, possibly inside the 90 minutes. I don't really like the odds on a simple Denmark win. I like the odds on the over 2. In my mind, at least, the worst case scenario is the 1-1 draw that goes at around plus 600, I think. Worst case scenario, in my mind, I think it's that. So I'll take the over 2 goals and possibly the over in cards here. Again, the lines are not up, or maybe they are, because this is an early match. Let me check real quick. The cards is yeah. I think I'll take the over in cards and the over in goals here, with a
All right.
grain of salt.
All right. And yeah, you mentioned, before I go to Nick, you mentioned penalty kicks, and this tournament has been nothing but some bad, terrible kicks, or some missed terrible kicks. I think there's been more own goals than successful penalty kicks in this tournament. I'd have to look at it, but at one point, I believe 6 of 13 penalty kicks had been missed in this tournament. That's with the 2 successful kicks by Cristiano Ronaldo yesterday. Nick, we're going full circle. You got the last word on this one, kind of going full circle. And when I say full circle, I'm just talking about the fact that Wales, you can't take group stage play, can't put too much stock into it. They did what they had to do. They didn't look good against Switzerland, but they got a goal with about 15 minutes left to earn a point there. They did what they had to do against Turkey, and that second goal came in like the 94th minute, but they got the 2-0 win. And against Italy, a red card after they were down 1-0, and they held on for a 1-0 defeat there. They did what they had to do to finish second in the group, move on to the group stages or the knockout stages. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, that's the pedigree of Wales. They pack it in tight. They're tough to break down, and they're tough to beat, or at least beat big. So, I hate playing unders when it's right at 2 goals, because that second goal can always come late, especially in a knockout game as a team. If it's 1-0 either way and a team needs to push for something, then who knows what can happen. But I don't disagree that it will be a tight, lower scoring type of game. However, I think it's okay value on Denmark. I mean, I took a 5% play on Denmark on match day 3 against Russia, and I don't think Wales is any better than Russia. And we saw what happened in that game. Denmark were able to generate a lot of chances in that game. Now, Wales are better defensively, but overall aren't a better team. You mentioned it already, Carm, where 45 shots in their first 2 games, and only that 1 goal. They were unlucky to get 2 losses. They were unlucky not to have 2 wins at that point, let alone have 2 losses. And they finally showed, what they can do in that third game. And I think it's going to carry over here. Wales, if they don't get that red card against Italy, I think that game finishes 2-0 or 3-0 to Italy, because obviously they changed the way they're going to play. And they just, at that point, are just, all right, make sure we protect as much as we can. Don't do anything crazy here on a goal differential, because that's the way you have to play in the group stage. The knockout round is a lot different. I think, again, Italy, had they have actually had more players on the field, would have probably done a better job of breaking them down in that game. And Denmark's offensively is very strong. Even the Swiss against Wales in that first game, yeah, they drew 1-1, but they generated a lot of chances in that game. And, soccer is a thing. You got to put away your chances. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but I'm always going to take a team that I feel like is going to generate more chances when the price is pretty good. And I think Denmark at -125 isn't too bad of a price here. So I like the Danes. I like them to get them done. I think the Wales is a pretender. And like you guys have that future that you took after the second match day. I had one pre-tournament, and my opinion of them hasn't really changed. I think they can make it pretty far in this tournament, at least get past Wales in this first game.
Yeah, and as far as like that future goes, if you're not comfortable with the future sort of moving forward, you can actually in this game, because you can take Wales in this game to qualify at +185 and move on to the next round. You can literally put the same unit on Wales, buy out of your liability on your futures bet, or lock in a very tiny little profit with that wager. So that's the great option you have here, just because of the fact that Denmark is favored in that. Yep. Guys, thanks for watching. Some great information from Nick Borrman, Kevin Dolan, and Pavlos Laguretos. You can get their knockout stage packages and mine over at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo. If you use coupon code KO60 at checkout, you'll get $60 off that regular price of $199. So you get it for $139 and get every single play, whether it's a side, total, prop bet, exact score, every single play released for the rest of the Euro tournament, and some Copa America plays included as a bonus as well too, for only $139. An absolute great deal. As always, guys, good luck with your wagers. Hit that like button, and we will see you next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thanks for watching.
With the WagerTalk one-day Power Pass, you receive every play from every betting consultant for one day at the ridiculously discounted price of just $199. What's better than one day of great games? Watching, following, and winning those games. Get your sportsbook edge with the entire WagerTalk team of handicappers with this one-day Power Pass, every WagerTalk expert in every game they release for just one day. Your WagerTalk one-day Power Pass is right here, and it's yours for just $199.